All right, Joe, we've got one more question today. It comes from Cam.
Hi, Paul and Joe. I'm an American working in the Middle East. I try to save and invest as much as I can with the goal of retiring early in about 3 years. I recently learned that expats working for my company are eligible to take a loan of up to $200,000 from a local bank at about 1.75% interest with a 3-year payback period. Many of my colleagues have taken these loans and sent the money back to the States, either to buy a house or just invest. Theoretically, I could just put it in my savings account that is currently earning 4.1% and come out ahead, or do something with a bigger upside. My question is this a good idea? If not, why not? And if so, what might be some good ways to use it that aren't overly risky? Thank you so much.
Okay, before we answer his question, Paula, I've got a very serious question. Why aren't the Middle East and the Midwest like right next to each other? I've never understood that.
Joe.
Like the Middle East is on one side of the globe. The Midwest is on a whole different side of the globe. And I just don't get it. For
those of you who can't see me on YouTube right now, I literally have my face in my hands. I can't believe.
Who named these places, Paula? I want a refund.
The Midwest are the former Northwest Territory states. It was before Manifest Destiny, before the United States was coast to coast.
But the Middle East was not the Northeast territory.
No, the Middle East is it's a prime trading route. If you think of Eurasia, right? The Middle East is like that prime trading route. So, yeah.
Anyway, just always wondered that before you. My bad. Let's continue. What do you think about Cam, Paula? Do you have any
commentary on Middle Earth as well while we're at it?
I do. How come Middle Earth is in somebody's fantasy and Middle East is over there and Midwest is over somewhere else?
Why are we so Northern Hemisphere centric, right?
Even the phrase Middle East is so Eurocentric.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Absolutely. I won't go on my rant about how I think that all of Asia being one continent, from Mongolia to Sri Lanka, is that's a kind of a Eurocentric concept as well. So, but that's a different conversation for a different day.
Whole different.
Yeah, exactly. At any rate, Cam,
how you doing? How you doing, Cam?
I'm so curious as to what country he's in right now. So, but I don't know. But wherever you are, Cam, that sounds like an amazing deal. If I were in your shoes, I would absolutely do it. But I have a couple of questions for you. First of all, what is your experience as an investor? When you are investing, especially when you are investing borrowed money, you want to be incredibly cognizant of risk. And as an individual investor who is not subject to a board of directors, who does not have to justify their choices in a slide deck, right? Who does not have the checks and balances that a team of investors who work for an institution have, right? As an individual investor who's able to do whatever he wants, the biggest risk that you face is the risk that you pose to yourself. Because it can be very easy to go down a couple of internet rabbit holes and all of a sudden you're buying GameStop stock or AMC Theaters or Bed Bath & Beyond. Even if you know better, it can be very easy to get carried away. So how much experience do you have as an investor? What types of checks and balances are you putting on yourself? What external board of directors, quote unquote, do you answer to? Those are my questions to you. Essentially, that those are all various ways of saying, knowing that, and not you, Cam, but knowing that the human tendency is for one to become one's worst obstacle. How do you put safeguards in place that protect you from your own whims? such that you know that you will invest this conservatively. I liked what you said about theoretically, you could just put it in a CD, put it in a savings account. You could put it in a CD. You could,
yeah.
I mean, you could put it in a money market account. You could put it in T-bills, right? Man, of all of those options, T-bills are probably the best because a money market account, as our mutual friend Len Penzo pointed out, in theory, if a bank collapses, you might not be able to get the money out of the money market account. But even in the event of a bank collapse, you can get your money out of T-bills, right? So in theory, you can buy a bunch of T-bills and call it a day. I like that. I like that plan.
When you find these arbitrage situations, always take advantage of them. And you'll see people online. Think about in the past, you saw these people that would buy things off of Alibaba and they would resell them on Etsy or Amazon and just use the arbitrage in their favor. Arbitrage works. And when you can find it, it is fleeting usually. So grab onto it. And because you have this situation, and I know these exist out there because I know some other people who get preferential treatment from banking organizations because of the specific work that they do. And they know that they're a great risk. So the bank has decided to give these people that type of a loan. But Paula, I still think Cam has to watch out for a few things before he even gets into this, because you definitely got to know what you're getting into and that this is as good a deal as you think it is. Number one is there a prepayment penalty if you decide to pay it off early? That could wreck everything. If you get into a situation where something happens to the money for who knows what reason, and now you want to pay it off right away and you can't, and there's going to be monster penalties. That's a big thing. Other gotchas like fees for the loan on the front end side, they might not call it an interest rate. There might just be a big fee slapped on the front end that can make the effective interest rate much, much bigger. So I would have preferably somebody in the lending industry, look at the loan paperwork with you, look at that fine print very carefully. Because while I don't think this is too good to be true, you don't want to find out after you've signed the paperwork. But then afterwards, Paula, when you do these strategies, the question is what is the repayment term going to look like when you have to start repaying the loan? If he has to start paying it right away, as an example, you talked about T-bills, fantastic opportunity, but we're going to lock up the money for some amount of time. So I'm going to have to leave some money in a spot where I can make the payment while the rest of the money sits in the T-bill. So you want to be careful there. If it's a long time of repayment, like 30 years, that he's repaying this over.
Did he say, he said 3 years, didn't he? Or something? It's a very short-term, relatively short-term loan.
Yeah.
3-year payback period. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry.
1.75.
Well, I missed that. That answers it. So,
period.
But for other people listening, if you've got a long repayment term, then you can go into some long-term assets with a 3-year time frame. You don't want to go into anything with any type of variability. So the T-bill answer is a fine answer. Find the highest fixed interest rate you can get, and from a reliable institution like the U.S. government, which would be a T-bill. Don't have any risk of downside.
Yeah, don't get T-bills from the Nepalese government.
Might not be the same risk profile. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Does Nepal even have a treasury anymore? I don't even know.
But just the rule of thumb, if it's under 5 years, you're even gambling if you go into any type of bond, right? So under 5 years, you're gambling into bonds. Under 10 years, you're gambling if you're going into real estate or stocks. So real estate, stocks, and bonds that vary on the open market, out of the equation with the 3-year, a 3-year time frame. Exactly.
Yeah, I think T-bills are the way to go. Or ladder, if you need some amount of money in order to be able to make that payment, if there's like a monthly payment or a quarterly payment that's associated with it, laddered CDs for that portion, the portion that you set aside for repayment purposes. What's nice about laddered CDs is that then you can with the longest duration CDs, you can get the highest interest rate repayment, but you can get the highest yield. But with the shorter term CDs, you can preserve some of that liquidity so that you would be able to make payments on it, right? Whether at whatever periodic payment needs to be made. So a combo of T-bills and laddered CDs is
there it is.
Specifically what I would choose. But beyond that, I think, again, your biggest risk is it's going to be so tempting when you have this money in hand to be like,
free money.
But look at AI and look at the potential. And do you really think 3 years from now, all of these AI companies are going to be worth? Certainly, they're going to be worth more.
Duh.
And it's so tempting when you have the money in hand to then take a look at more speculative assets and mistake potential returns for yield, right?
And I think the way to frame that in your brain so you don't even think about gambling is just realize that every dollar you make on this is already free money. Don't F it up by gambling it away. You're getting free guaranteed money. Don't mess up that strategy.
Yeah, exactly. Don't mess with the risk-free return. All right. Well, thank you, Cam, for asking that question. I apologize for Joe's little Middle East, Midwest.
I just wonder. I'm not allowed to wonder. Is that the deal?
Oh, boy. That's all I can say. But thank you, Cam, for asking that question. And have fun. With your work, with wherever it is that you're living, and with this opportunity.